we have now joining us Vallabh Bhansali from the ENAM group. Mr. Bansali, thank you for joining us on ET Now. The deal is done, 18% tariff for Indian exports. Do you think that's a fair tariff given the fact that we were expecting a little lower?
I think this is quite extraordinary given that India has got the deal at its terms. There was a whole political and foreign policy dimension to the deal. And India has walked away from this deal quite tall. They took their time importing Russian oil. They kept the whole Pakistan matter out of the picture. And just look at the quiet with which the deal has got done. So you have to look at the whole deal in totality. And 18% is in preference to several other countries who have traded with U.S. and done deals long, long back. So the whole Asian basket is 19% and more. So Korea, Japan have invested large amounts in U.S. So if you look at the totality of 18%, is very decent.
Absolutely it is. And Mr. Bhansali, what a proud moment for India. Standing ground, resilience, it all is an indication of that. But I want to talk about the bipolar week the equity markets have had, Mr. Bhansali. 48 hours ago, we were reeling from an STT-induced crash. And now the GIFT Nifty is up a good 800 points. Is this trade deal that ultimate get-out-of-jail-free card for Indian equity markets this year?
So markets have tended to be, more volatile all over the world. So we correct fast both ways, up and down. This has been a pattern. The cycles have become shorter and shorter, and now we are discovering they're probably even as short as 1 day long. So because of, the speed with which decisions are being taken and the views are changing, we have seen a bit of it, but I agree with you. Yesterday, the last 2 days were very extreme. And let's see what happens today.
Mr. Bansali, that also brings me to the next question, that $22 billion of outflows that we've had all through last year. Does this now sort of course correct after the mother of all deals that we've managed to strike with the U.S.?
I wouldn't think that it's a reflex action because those were driven by really valuations in India, cheaper valuations in China. So that was a big play available to the world. And now that rupee has corrected significantly, the deal is done, the macro is much, much better. So I would think that the flows start trickling back. But the deal and the immediate impact on profits, etc., at company level has to be looked at one by one. So it may take some time. But the mood, the political space that has got freed up, and the alignment that India has achieved, I think are quite significant. So the mood or the outlook for the markets definitely turns better, and for FII flows as well. I'm sure that there was something political also about, people turning away from India. We know how all these things wheels within wheels. So some of that must also be there, I guess. But it's not like, suddenly you will find FII jumping all over India.
The deal also requires India to buy American products worth $500 billion. It doesn't mention what is the timeline for that, but it's if you look at 5 to 10 years, which is normally the kind of thing for any trade deals, it's an achievable target, right? Because we are looking at multiple stuff from the US, from defense to semiconductors, for our data centers, to civilian aircrafts, nuclear energy. Is that achievable?
I think the three large buckets that you mentioned, that oil, defense, and semiconductors, so the bulk will go into that. And there is critical amount of electronics, etc., that will also happen. So I think much more than, except the big items that you mentioned, we haven't opened our markets really. I would think fundamentally in terms of agri products, this, that, etc. I'm sure that we will have ways not to, flood our countries. If you look at the UU deal, we have protected our sensitive markets and we have allowed them the same thing. So similar things will happen here. So I think very predictable. Yes, the big switch will be from Russian energy to American energy, and we have taken our time, reaching there. So on the whole, I don't see any major disruptions except the energy part.
It's been very quiet when it comes to Russian energy part in its statement. Do you think that we will still be looking at the cheaper source of energy, given that now this uncertainty is over, and if US is able to provide us a cheaper energy, then we'll go for that. Otherwise, we'll wherever we get the cheaper energy or crude, we will go for that.
So I think for once it will be like, giving Russia any advantage to whatever extent it mattered, because US and Europe both are continuing to, buy from Russia what they need in some measure. So this is a big pressure for Ukraine peace deal. And we don't know, I don't know really the exact weight of India stopping to buy Russia at the deal table between Ukraine and Russia. But that seemed to be very, very big sticking point for Trump. And longer term, yes, I think what you said will come to prevail, that, commercial interest can't be sacrificed beyond a point. We didn't sacrifice them all this last 11, 12 months. And so will it be in future. We will find ways. Also, we do not know the exact legal binding character of this deal. This deal is like a phone deal. It's uncanny. Just compare the two deals. The EU deal was announced with all the band baja available in the world. And this is midnight deal. So I think there is a lot to be read between the lines. I think both of them said, let's do this quietly rather than with any shor sharaba, except Ambassador Gore giving some indication that, things will happen quickly. But by U.S. standards and Mr. Trump standards, this was a non-event, really. So I think once the Russian deal gets done, which will be very huge, good news for the whole world, this will be led by and large commercially.
Indeed. But Mr. Bhansali, for the Indian investor, tariffs will happen, pandemics will happen, all of it eventually settles down, and it boils down really to earnings. What's your own observation of how India Inc. has performed in terms of their earnings scorecard this time around?
So I think the current quarter looks much better than the previous ones. So to that extent, one looks... the GST number also, is indicating that. The ground news also is kind of indicating that. One has to wait and see, but the mood is very upbeat. And what would happen is that our sectors such as pharma, textiles, which were really hit very hard by this, they all come into being. They all come into, life. So all that is going to have a ripple effect. So on the whole, I think this quarter will be much, much better than the previous two quarters.
Is this, I know the details are yet to come out, Mr. Bansali, but given the fact that, you have this announcement and coming into effect immediately, will this have a major impact in the way currency is now going to be, currency is now going to move, and the way the RBI policy on currency, which we were expecting as part of the MPC, now it's not going to be a big thing for that. RBI has to manage only the liquidity part of it now?
I'm not a currency expert, but something very interesting happened, and that was a big move in rupee favor yesterday. That couldn't be really explained because we opened our markets considerably. It was export facilitation, but there were a lot of import dilutions. So it should have gone the adverse way. So just looking at the budget provisions, a lot more goes on in the world. I think rupee should stabilize and appreciate because our exports will start flowing. And so I think the worst of rupee may have been over. As to, how exactly to place this deal in terms of currency reset and policy, etc., I'm not an expert to really give you a good comment.
Okay, Mr. Bhansali, thank you so much, regardless, for taking time out and speaking with us this morning and sharing a very proud moment for India, really.
I think the position that India has achieved for itself in, amongst countries, I think that's the biggest gain that we brought US to, knees virtually. I mean, I heard from an insider that the way EU deal was announced, it was like, it really gave them a FOMO. Thank you.
It really
That's
did.
true.
That's Mr. Bhansali really getting it on with the lingo, isn't he?
Yes.